time?
Oh, yes,
okay.
please.
Make sure to go live this time? Yeah.
I'm alive.
Making sure to go live this time. Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. Total world victory of Hare Krishna. My name is Sitapati Das, and this is Bhagavad-gita 120 with special guest featuring today my wife, Dana, and our son, Prahlad, who is here visiting us at Vishnu Premapalli and graciously is dropping in for the class. This is actually take 2. We did take 1, and I forgot to click on go live, so we're doing it again. Churning the nectar, samsmritya. Remembering this conversation again and again, the hairs on my body are standing on end. Let us begin with Bhagavad-gita. The Song of God, Chapter 1, Observing the Armies on the Battlefield of Kurukshetra, text number 20. Atha vyavasthitān dṛṣṭvā dhārtarāṣṭrān kapi-dhvajaḥ pravṛtte śastra-sampāte dhanur udyamya pāṇḍavaḥ hṛṣīkeśaṁ tadā vākyam idam mahī-pate. Let's do the synonyms.
English.
Yeah. Atha
Thereupon.
vyavasthitān
Situated.
dṛṣṭvā
Looking upon.
dhārtarāṣṭrān
The son of Dhṛtarāṣṭra.
kapi-dhvajaḥ
He whose flag was marked with Hanumān.
pravṛtte
While about to engage.
śastra-sampāte
And releasing his arrows.
dhanuḥ
Bow.
udyamya
Taking up.
Pāṇḍavaḥ
The son of Pāṇḍu. Arjuna.
hṛṣīkeśaṁ
Unto the Lord Kṛṣṇa.
tadā
At that time.
vākyam
Words.
idam
This.
atha
Saith.
mahī-pate.
O king.
Translation. You want to do that, Prahlad?
At that time, Arjuna, the son of Pāṇḍu, seated in the chariots bearing the flag marked with Hanumān, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows. O king, after looking at the sons of Dhṛtarāṣṭra drawn in military array, Arjuna then spoke to Lord Kṛṣṇa these words. Purport. The battle was just about to begin. It is understood from the above statement that the sons of Dhṛtarāṣṭra were more or less disheartened by the unexpected arrangement of military force by the Pāṇḍavas, who were guided by the direct instructions of Lord Kṛṣṇa on the battlefield. The emblem of Hanumān on the flag of Arjuna is another sign of victory, because Hanumān cooperated with Lord Rama in the battle between Rama and Ravana, and Lord Rama emerged victorious. Now both Rama and Hanumān were present on the chariots of Arjuna to help him. Lord Kṛṣṇa is Rama himself, and wherever Lord Rama is, his eternal servitor Hanumān and his eternal consort Sita, the goddess of fortune, are present. Therefore Arjuna had no cause to fear any enemies whatsoever. And above all, the Lord of the senses, Lord Kṛṣṇa, was personally present to give him directions. Thus all good counsel was available to Arjuna in the matter of executing the battle. In such auspicious conditions arranged by the Lord for his eternal devotee lay the signs of assured victory.
Atha vyavasthitān dṛṣṭvā dhārtarāṣṭrān kapi-dhvajaḥ pravṛtte śastra-sampāte dhanur udyamya Pāṇḍavaḥ hṛṣīkeśaṁ tadā vākyam idam mahī-pate. At that time, Arjuna, the son of Pāṇḍu, seated in the chariot bearing the flag marked with Hanumān, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows. O king, after looking at the sons of Dhṛtarāṣṭra drawn in military array, Arjuna then spoke to Lord Kṛṣṇa these words. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. You wanna kick us off?
How about Prahlad?
Prahlad. Over to you. You've just finished reading the Bhagavad-gita, Prahlad.
Yeah, I finished it in just over 2 months.
2 months ago?
No, about a month ago.
Okay.
So.
And that was the first time that you've read it through the whole way?
Yeah. Well, technically, this is my most read purport out of all of them.
Really? Why?
Well, I've sort of started the Bhagavad-gita and read up to like chapter 2 or chapter 3 about 3 or so times, and you're reading this for 2 times now. I would have read this one purport about 4 times. Yeah, but talking about the purport, well, Arjuna, says he has a certain victory, and well, he doesn't really know that. He's talking about the rest of it. He's unsure about his duty, and I know this part, or the part that comes just after it, is really talking about Arjuna needing to do his duty, and talks about that. But in here it says, lay the signs of assured victory just at the end. But Arjuna is exemplifying the human emotions of doubt, sort of fear, which are totally normal and you can relate to. In the first time we did this, we're talking about Mary Sue characters. So a Mary Sue would be someone. Well, a Mary Sue is a writing sort of definition in books and stuff, and it what it means is the character is like completely perfect, no flaws, is able to do whatever, and they're just everything. And so a good example is Star Wars, the sequel trilogy, so the newest movies. The main character, Rey, is a Mary Sue character. She sort of comes out of nowhere, and she just blazes through all the obstacles in her way, and there's no tension. So that's why Mary Sue characters are looked down upon, because they ruin tension for the whatever
the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no risk of failure. There's nothing at stake. There's no. I mean, like you said the first time round. I mean, pretty much the good guys are going to win, right? 100% of the time. That's pretty. We all kind of know that that's how it goes, but along the way, there is some risk, right?
Yeah.
There's like in Lord of the Rings, right? Doesn't Boromir gets killed, right?
Yeah.
What other? Where other? Or in that Avatar, the latest Avatar movie, the son dies, right?
One of them.
One of them, yeah. So there is like, it's not guaranteed, Whereas in that character arc of Rey in the sequel trilogy, there's nothing at risk, and pretty quickly you've picked that up, and then it's kind of like, okay, the rest of the movie's pretty much on rails, right?
Yeah.
And then there was that movie that we went to see, the Jason Statham movie, which I can't even remember the name of it. It's so forgettable. There's nothing at risk. He's completely perfect at the beginning, perfect at the end, learns nothing along the way. There's no transformation. Whereas here, even though Arjuna, victory is guaranteed for Arjuna, but this is the kind of the dichotomy or the contradiction or the paradox is to be fully human and fully spiritual. Krishna is about to tell him that he is eternal, indestructible. Nahanyate hanyamane sharira. He's not destroyed or slain when the body is slain. He has the supreme personality of Godhead on his side right next to him. He can't lose. And at the same time, he has this fully human experience of like fear and doubt, you know. The other people on the battlefield can't tell that, you know, everybody is covered over. It's like my friend Dhruvananda said in a comment the other day that too much jnana spoils the lila, which means too much knowledge ruins the, you know, the plot. It ruins the story if you know exactly how it's going to end, right? I actually have that experience watching movies. As soon as my mind figures out what the resolution is, I lose interest. So I kind of, you know, the way I enjoyed watching movies the most was catching buses in South America. Because, you know, you get on those buses there and they have like a TV screen and they're playing a movie on a video cassette back when I was there, when we lived there and preached over there. That's where Prahlad was born. And that's where you're from. Yep. I would get on the bus and you'd get on the bus and the movie would be halfway through. So you wouldn't know anything that had happened and it was a real mystery. Or you'd get on the bus and watch it to halfway through and then, you know, then you'd get off. And so you didn't know what happened later. But as soon as it gets to the point where you figure out everything that's happening, it becomes boring. And so for the purposes of like Leela or dramatic tension, there has to be this covering over. You know, there's uncertainty, there's doubt. It's the human condition. And so that's what's happening here. And you made the point in the last time we did this through, Prahlad, that if Arjuna was a Mary Sue character, no one could identify with him, right?
Yeah. So I was thinking a little bit more on that.
Do you want to just create that point?
Yeah. So, you know, if Arjuna was like sort of out there, like, yeah, I'm gonna win, easy. I got Lord Kṛṣṇa here. I got Hanumān. You know, I got Sita. You know, goddess of fortune. You know, I'm balling. And there just was no sort of humanness to it, and it was just flat. And he's just like, yeah, basically he's gonna win, and so he just acts like he's gonna win. You wouldn't be able to relate with the book. You know, when you're reading books and watching movies, you sort of want to relate to the main character. You know, one of the things that writers do is they try and make the character relatable. It's like, oh yeah, you know, I sort of relate with this person or character or whatever. And so that's sort of the genius of the Bhagavad-gita, because, you know, Arjuna was the OG devotee, and he's a devotee of Krishna, and so you want to relate with him. You know, if he was unrelatable, if he had no doubts, he had no fears, and then you have doubts and fears, you'd be like, well, what's wrong with me? Why do I have doubts and fears while Arjuna has no doubts and fears? Is Krishna not with me? Or, like, you would have that sort of thoughts. Well, at least I would think. And yeah, also if he was a Mary Sue character, there would be no excitement. It was like, oh, well, I know how this book's gonna end, book closed, and then you would I don't know, go about your day. And so I think because of the realness, because Mary Sue characters don't exist in, you know, real life. The realness and how the Bhagavad Gita is like, it's real. And so it's more relatable than, you know, some sort of, they're just flying around on magical dragons. You know, Krishna's like, yo, you gotta do this. Yeah,
playing in the clouds.
You'd be like, oh yeah, this is some fictional fantasy, but it's real. So
yeah,
that's how it is.
Imagine that him, like you said, knowing he's gonna win, he will be living a fantasy world, and this is not the world where we live.
Well, maybe he is in a fantasy world, because he is going to win, but he doubts that whether he's going to win or not. So which is real and which is fantasy?
Does it matter?
For sure it does. But let's come back another time for that topic. Anyways, one of the things, in the previous recording I was saying it's about the auspiciousness of different items on the battlefield. I mentioned before it was the conch shell, the sounding of the conch shell itself, and now it's the flag of Hanumān. And there is the key words here. It says, lay the sign or like be assured victory is for you. And also, Arjuna had no cause to fear any enemies whatsoever. So that's the key words. But yet Arjuna was shaken. And I think as a human beings, we in situations that are hard for us to digest, when the situation's overwhelming, we go through those experiences of fear, the emotions and the tension that we feel in our body. It feels real. And then, in that sense, if we go through those tumultuous situations, we develop ourselves as a person with different. We're talking about character, and it's a different topic as well. But it's the way who we are, the strengths we develop through those situations.
Well, we did say in the last one that no one saw that those are two different things, and then we were like, but maybe they're the same thing, and that is, we talk about your character, right?
Yeah.
But then the reality is that we are eternal spirit souls. We're not the body or the mind or the temporary identity. But that is the character that we're playing in this particular drama, in this episode, right? So your character development, it is the development of your character, but it's not you. And it is the development of your character, right? So yeah, they are the same thing.
Can't go to that topic. Thank you. But I'm talking more about like the strengths that we develop through harsh situations that we go. Because when we die, we take with us what we have developed in this lifetime. And that's the only thing we take with us.
Yeah,
the next life.
The living entity carries its conceptions of life from one body to the other, just as the air carries aromas. Krishna says that to Arjuna in the 15th chapter, I believe. Yeah. Sorry, you were saying? Go ahead.
No. The end.
The end. Yeah. Yeah, you develop your character, and you don't take your money with you, you don't take your car with you, but you do take your character development. Well, that's another thing that Krishna and Arjuna talk about, right? Is Arjuna asks Krishna the question, what happens if I undertake this and then I don't make it, And then Krishna says that whatever advancement you make is never lost. And he actually also says even a little bit of advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Which Srila Prabhupada in the purport, and that purport says, is losing the human form of life. Which is meant specifically for self-realization.
Right.
Only, according to the Vedic understanding, only human beings are capable, they have a mind capable of this type of introspection. The demigods, maybe. Anyway.
Another topic.
Another topic, yeah. Artificial intelligence, can ChatGPT introspect itself like this? Maybe, who can say? But definitely, the human form, and here's what we can say, right? Because in having had this conversation with hundreds, if not thousands of people over the last 25 years, someone always says, how do we know that the dogs and the birds aren't like talking to each other and thinking, and dolphins? And it's like, okay, maybe we don't know, right? One thing we do know for certain is that as human beings in the human form of life right now, we are capable of introspecting ourselves and our character and distinguishing ourselves as separate from that character. We can do that as human beings. And the Vedas, which are available to us in this experience of life, do tell us that the human form of life is specifically meant for this. Out of all of the different forms of life that there are in the universe, this one is specifically not simply meant for eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, which you can do in any species of life, and as a human being too. And yeah, we do that. That's how we ended up with a son and a daughter. And he already knew that. He's 20. You know, you can do that as a human being, but you can also do this self-realization thing, which the dogs and cats, the Vedas tell us, don't do. And then you could say that, well, maybe they do and we just don't know about it. Well, okay, maybe they do and we don't know about it, but we do know that as humans we can do it. And that, Prabhupada explains in that purport, is the most dangerous type of fear, is that you lose the ability to do that. So use it while you have it. And Krishna says that if you do that, you'll carry on that in the next life. That's something that you'll definitely take to the next life, is your spiritual advancement.
Yes, and also, well, there's another verse that Krishna will preserve what you have and... No, protect what
No, you're right. Preserve what you have.
Preserve what you have.
And carry what you lack.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There is a story about that. There was a guy who was reading it and he was like, no, Krishna wouldn't carry what I... okay, yeah, I know what it is. Let me see if I can remember it.
Okay.
You might have heard this. You might have heard this. So this one devotee was reading the Bhagavad-gita and he read that. And it says, Vyavasthitān. I carry what he lacks. And he's reading and he's just like, no. Krishna, personally himself, doesn't carry what the devotee lacks. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He has people for that kind of thing. He gets it done, right? So he's like, it can't be udyamya. Someone must have interpolated that in there at some point. It must be that it's meant to be karomyaham. I make it happen. Karomyaham, not bhajamyaham. I personally carry it, but karomyaham, I make it turn out. So he scratches it out, he crosses it out, and he writes in karomyaham. And then he comes back the next day to resume his reading, and it's not crossed out anymore. And he's like, what? Someone has like rubbed it out. And he's like, who did this? Anyway, he crosses it out again, right? And he writes in Karamyaham. And then, goes on with his study, and then he comes back the next day and it's been rubbed out again. So he crosses it out again. And then this next part, I can't remember the story very well, but there's some little black boy that he sees who has these like stripes across his back, like he's being whipped or caned or something. Oh. And so he's asking him what happened, and man, this part of it, I see. Anyway, let me tell it, and then introspect my own machinery. The little boy is Krishna, and him scratching that thing out in the Bhagavad, maybe he catches the boy rubbing it out or something, And so in that way, that would be good actually, if it was constructed like that. He catches the boy rubbing it out and says, what are you doing? And Krishna is directly carrying it out, directly doing it. And it is that Krishna directly, personally is involved in the life of his devotee. Mm. And Krishna is directly, personally involved in Arjuna's life here with him, but Arjuna doesn't even know it. He's covered over. Too much jnana spoils the leela, as Dhruvananda said. And as you pointed out, Prahlad, if we as devotees didn't see Arjuna doubting himself, and we would also think when we experience fear and doubt that, well, maybe Krishna is not with me. And that was what I was reflecting on this morning when I went to the farm, fed the animals, the chickens, the cows, the cats, was this contradiction between these two things. I am an immortal Vaishnava, indestructible, on this planet to kill to kill the demonic mentality through the chanting of the holy name, the astra of this age, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And to carry out the will of the Lord, which is to establish Daivivanashram Dharma and attend law books, it's predestined. We know how this ends. There's no need to fear or to be in any doubt about what happens. Yes, the Asuras crash the economy. They try to bring in the central bank digital currencies and lock everyone into a totalitarian control system and suppress the worship of Lord Vishnu and administer poison to the devotees and like set robots on them and all kinds of stuff like that. Yes, this is all going to happen. And we know how it ends. It ends with Paramvijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam, total world victory of Hare Krishna. And at the same time, I have this experience of being a human being and having fear and doubt. And, you know, but Sitapati, what if you're wrong? You know, oh, Prabhupada said many things, you know. It's, you know, you have to be responsible and mature and, you know, grow up and, you know, there's all this conversation in the domain of the human mind and identification with the human part of the character. The demigod part is like, it's there, but it's not stable and accessible, and it would be boring if it was.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, the thing with this, it's Srila Prabhupada predicted all of this. And when things becomes a bit obscure and scary, the mind, it takes me back. Srila Prabhupada predicted this. He wanted us to do these specific things, and he said that the devotees will be victorious. And that reassures me that I need to continue thinking and having the faith in Krishna, and also what Srila Prabhupada said. Because what he predicted, it's already been happening. And we are right in the middle of that right now.
Oh, in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada talks about the unpegging of the US dollar from the gold standard. And then, you know, that was from Bretton Woods, was on the gold standard, and then they unpegged it in the 70s and pegged it to oil. And Prabhupada said in his Bhagavatam commentary, which was written in the 60s, that, you know, this is the cause of like the economic collapse. He elucidated it in many conversations. And in 1973, in May, he said in 50 years, this motor car civilization will be finished.
Yeah.
And that's like in 2 months' time from today, in 2023. The guy's on the money. He understands how the world works. And his projections about how things were going to go, and the necessity of like creating varnashram dharma and establishing self-sufficient like food production, you know, and the necessity for decentralization, you know, the effects of inflation, the eventual destiny of that economic cycle, the whole thing. He's like on the money.
And he also said people will come to
millions
seek
of people
jobs.
Will come
to
seek
farm, shelter and jobs to the farms. And also people will be way more awake spiritually, and they will select devotees as the leaders. So it's already predicted. The only thing we need to do is our duty and follow the instructions of Srila Prabhupada, and then whoever comes as a leader will come. It is predicted. So rest assured, he says, rest assured victory is for us, for the devotees of Krishna. Yeah.
Okay, final words, Prahlad? Anything you want to say?
Well, yeah, just what you guys were saying, you know, lay the signs of assured victory.
What says, in such auspicious conditions, arranged by the Lord for his eternal devotee, lay the signs of assured victory.
Yeah. And so, you know, talking about the predictions, it's already there. You sort of know all the predictions have been done, and it's already there. And, you know, we have the emotions of, is it actually going to happen? You know, maybe you're like dead set. Well, I don't think there would be no doubts. there's always doubts. Even if you want to believe them or not, there's always doubts. And that's just the human emotion. And yeah, you know, Arjuna exemplifies devotees, humans basically perfectly. You know, he has complex, it shows in the Bhagavad-gita that he's having complex emotions about the battlefield. I'm not sure if it was previously to this purport or after it, but Arjuna says that he would rather go into the forest and live as a hermit than kill his family and brethren and teachers and people on the other side of the battlefield. And so, you know, maybe you could say that his unwillingness to fight comes from either fear of, you know, himself dying in battle, or fear of taking the lives of his, you know, friends, family, teachers on the other side. And so whichever it is, maybe it's a mix of all of it. Whatever it is, you know, it's a complex human emotion. And so, you know, it's relatable.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Facts. And for you, what do you want to say to?
Stay with Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless what emotions you're going through. Come back to the Bhagavad-gita. There is nothing else but the reassuring statements of Sri Krishna. This is the essence of life. Rest assured, victories for his devotees.
Param vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. Total world victory of Hare Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna.